What's up, gamers? Today's video is all about defense. How do you build a base to keep your enemies out? There's three general topics we're going to discuss in this realm, which are towers, gates, and actually your production buildings. It's a lot to cover, so let's jump right in. This is a tower, and towers provide two functions. They have their own defensive capabilities, and then also when any two towers connect, they create walls. So this first tower is connected to this second tower over here, and it's creating this wall. And it's also connected to this tower over here, creating this gray wall. The reason there's a gray wall and a brown wall is simply because of the levels of these towers. This is a level 21 tower, and it's connected to another level 21 tower. And the third tower here on the right is actually just level 20. So the brown kind of wooden looking gates are level 20 towers. As soon as you hit 21, you're going to start to get these gray, much stronger walls and towers. So gates are the first thing towers provide. Secondly, towers have their own defensive capabilities. And there's actually two types of towers. The first kind of tower is a watchtower, and the second tower is called a blocking tower. And so let's cover both of them. The watchtower has an upside and a downside. The upside is the garrison. Only the watchtowers get to garrison units. Most people tend to choose some sort of ranged unit, either a bowman or crossbowman, and if you assign them and click this check mark, now these garrisoned units are going to fire upon any enemies that come within its radius of attack. Seems great. Why would you ever forego a garrison? Well, the answer to that question is that you also take on the risk of having a door. These garrison units need to get in somehow. So if I go ahead and get into my building editing mode here, you can see this white arrow to the north is indicating that there's a door leading into this garrison. Now, this door is great for my troops because they can get in, but if this door were to be, let's say, facing the outside of my base like this, believe it or not, enemy troops can just waltz right in. Any troop that gets in through the door of a tower gets access to the roof, I guess not the roof, but the tops of the walls of your base. So troops walk in here, they literally get to climb onto this wall, and they can actually follow it all the way to the heart, to the nexus of your base. So having a watchtower with an outward facing door is actually a huge security risk, a huge break in your defenses. So if you're going to be using watchtowers, make sure the doors are facing inwards. Blocking towers, however, if you look at this one, you can see there's a red no door arrow. This is just saying that from any access point on this tower, there is no way for any troops to get on the walls of your base. So that's the advantage of blocking towers, is they are purely defensive structures that cannot be climbed up or into or have any weak point. They just forfeit that garrison. So one thing about doors when you're building your base is for any two towers to connect and have a wall that is joined between them, there cannot be a door on either tower where the adjoining walls would be created. So an example is if I turn this tower once to the right, you can see that wall disappears. And the reason the wall disappears is because of this door. So when you're building your base, you might need to rotate your towers a few times just to make sure that this door arrow is not obstructing a gate, like a wall like it just did there. So those are the two things you want to look out for with your watchtowers. Number one, these angles that they have to be connecting without a door in the way, and two, wherever the door faces needs to be a guarded area. If that door is facing outward, you're going to be exposed. All right, that pretty much does it for towers. There's blocking towers, watchtowers, and either type of towers creates walls if they're adjoining. Moving on, let's talk about gates. Gates are kind of a necessary evil. If we could have no gates, there'd be no way to get into our base. Wouldn't that be nice? Game, unfortunately, doesn't let you do that. The devs force you to have gates. Where do you need to have gates? Well, if you can look, my base is kind of filled up with these areas. There's like an area here that's surrounded by gates. There's an area here. You could call these enclosures. Okay, there's another enclosure here, another here. There's actually a little enclosure right here. Any enclosure in your base has to have a way in and out, and that's where gates come in. So if I were to remove, for example, from this enclosure, which only has two gates, if I were to remove both of these gates, the game's going to say, it will actually force me to put the gates back. So let me just get a nice click there. I'll remove the first gate and I'll remove the second gate. Look at that. Right as I'm remove the second gate, the game says, no way, you gotta have at least one of these gates because your troops need a way in. So let me throw that gate back. So gates are a necessary evil, but because we have to have them in our base, we may as well use them the best we can. And there are actually two things about gates that are sort of nice. Number one is they draw attention. So if you look, there is only one entrance to my base, which is this gate right here. Because of that, I know that no matter where my enemy spawns their troops into my base, any of the foot soldiers are going to path toward this gate. And so knowing that, I can place my other defenses accordingly. There is a caveat there with siege. If they happen to siege through one of the other back walls, then his other infantry and ground troops can go through whatever hole in my wall that the siege has made. But this is early game, so siege is not going to be breaking down any walls for beginners. So let's just, for this conversation's sake, say that enemy troops are going to path towards the gate at the front of your base. Once they get through that gate, they'll then path towards the next gate, and then the next gate, and then the next gate. So now, basically, what I've done by creating this maze, I've created kind of a tower defense game for my enemy to try and get through. So first, my enemy comes in through this front gate and paths counterclockwise. And once he gets right here to this internal nexus, he then has to path clockwise. And then once he gets through my final gate here, he then has to path around to the front right here of my actual base, my nexus. So that's the most effective way that you can use gates. They do have high health pools, so that because of that, they can draw the attention of your enemy's troops and divert them and grab their attention and aggro, while your other tower defenses from your platforms and your garrisoned watchtowers can deal and dish out damage. And that about covers it for gates. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is these production buildings. Obviously, they produce your units, but from a defensive standpoint, they have one more function. You can reinforce your own base with armies. So if you're getting attacked, you don't just have to use your garrison units and your kingdom defenses. You can also use the armies that you have at your disposal. He needs to be recalled. So if I go and I look at any given army, and in the unit types within it, this is a knight. He has just cavalry and lancers, which means that if I were to reinforce myself, my own base, using that knight with his cavalry and lancers, all those units are going to spawn at the stable. But because I have the stable here, they're going to spawn at the front of my base. If the stable were to be right next to my nexus, though, let's say, then my defensive reinforcements would spawn right at my nexus, which would also be nice. I've chosen to situate my production buildings at the front of my base, which is like a pretty good spot for them to be, because if I am there in time and I catch my opponent right as he's attacking, all my reinforcements are going to meet his offense right at the start of the fight, and they're also going to be pelted on by these 3 catapults. So like right here where all my reinforcements spawn are right in front of these 3 catapults, so it's a nice little front base setup. I will say there's a downside to having my production buildings here. If my opponent manages to get through all my layers of defense and get to, like, let's say right here or right here or right here even, then my reinforcing units are going to start on the outside of my base, right where I have them, and my units will have to go through the whole rigmarole of the maze that I've created. They're going to have to path all the way counterclockwise, just like my opponent's units did, to get to the center. And that can create a timing window where your opponent can actually take down your nexus gate while your reinforcements that have spawned at the front of your base are mazing their way through your own base. That said, I still think this is a great way to set up a beginner's base. I'm going to show you one caveat with this base. It's not really a caveat. I'm going to show you one trick that you need to be aware of to build this base. Other than this one trick, just by looking at it, you should be able to build it yourself. You've just got all garrison towers, except for these 4 blocking towers in the middle. So blocking tower here, and blocking tower here, here, and here. All these other are garrison towers, and you can just kind of look at this design and copy it. Let me cut over to this other video where I show you the one little thing you need to be aware of. All right, so this is the trick I was talking about, and it's really actually more of a in-game bug than a trick. So as you can see, this base is symmetrical on all sides, and with this symmetry, there are 4 quadrants where I need to place platforms. There's a quadrant here in the southwest, northwest, northeast, and southeast. And as you can see, the platforms fits nicely and snug here into the southwest quadrant. Again, symmetrical base, but here we are in the southeast quadrant, and even though it's the exact same number of squares, and for whatever reason, this platform will not fit in the southeast quadrant, even though it fits in the southwest, and here it fits nicely into the northeast. For whatever reason, it works in the northeast and the southwest. And finally, here in the northwest, it doesn't work. Northwest, it will not let me fit this platform without these walls. And we're back. So at the time of releasing this video, I can't believe I'm saying this, but we're at 94 subscribers, 6 away from 100, and seriously, it's been 14 days. Thank you so much, guys. I really want to keep making this channel better. As you've just noticed, I'm starting to learn production software. I did a jump cut in this video. That's a first. Hopefully it went smoothly enough. I am open to all suggestions you guys have for improving this channel. I want to make the best Kingdom Maker content on YouTube to help you guys learn and to build a gaming community. I don't know where this community is going to take us. I know we're having a blast playing Kingdom Maker right now, and I'd love to hear your ideas for what you want to learn about this game and what you'd like to see in this community that we're building. There's 100 of us soon. I know it. Please like and subscribe, share, and we will make this community even greater than it is today. Thanks again, guys. Remember to stay hydrated and game like you give a damn. Cheers.